not the Megan is missing setup. First of all, I live in the Midwest where it's cold, and I don't know, it wasn't like freezing in the afternoon. It was like 60s, I think, and now it's supposed to be in the 30s. I apologize if there's people in the background. This is a public park. Um, I just wanted to make a little vlog and talk about everything that's been going on as I usually did and do. I just, it's not that I don't care. It's like, I'm just busy, okay? I don't have time to be getting up on social media 24/7 to discuss how I feel about things going on in the world. I mean, I do talk about it, just not um, where it's seen all the time because I'm busy. But I was going to college and I still am in college to be an educator for high schoolers, middle schoolers, and elementary school kids, all the 9 yards. And I don't know, it's very confusing because it changes all of the time because it's just a confusing art, education and teaching. I don't even really want to be a teacher for the remainder of my life, but I do like the thought of promoting critical thinking and teaching kids about Emmett Till and Harriet Tubman and Sojourner. So I don't know how to say her name. I'm sorry. I don't know how to say a lot of words in general. Miss Turner, her name. I apologize. I'm not trying to make jokes. I also wanted to teach about the Greensboro, North Carolina, like dine-in situation in the 1960s and the civil rights marches, like Selma, Alabama, Bloody Sunday. I wanted to talk about Vietnam and D-Day, and I wanted to compare and contrast and talk about things, but with the current administration in the White House, I don't think that's possible. And this is going to sound really dramatic to people that do not possess critical thinking skills or thinking skills in general, but the loans and grants and Pell Grants and things like that are up for discussion right now. And I live in Ohio, and like I said, I've never filmed anything on YouTube to get attention or views or anything like that. I just like to vlog and talk about my experiences and document them and look back at it and then hopefully be in a better place. And I don't need to make things like that public, but I do like to make my voice heard, and I like to I love to have my opinions and things out there. So people, if something bad ever happens to me, like a car wreck or an aneurysm, there's no question about my integrity or my morals or ethics. I think what is going on is completely wrong. It should not be up for discussion to get rid of the Department of Education. It should not be up for discussion to roll back on protections against segregation in workplaces and workforces and things like that. I think it's disgusting. If you are an educator, it's very dangerous right now because it's like it's giving 1930s, 1940s Germany, and a lot of people like to be like, "Oh, you're being very stupid and you're being dramatic." And that's not the truth. They are getting rid of a lot of documents in general, a lot of USAID documents, and they are trying to roll back education in general, because it's very easy to keep people down that do not possess the critical thinking ability. There are apps and things that you can do to um, what is it called? To signal that somebody is trying to indoctrinate kids. Uh, I just think it's very stupid, very dangerous. You're playing with fire. I do agree that American education needs to be fixed and changed, but I don't think that dismantling education is the answer. Not at all, because I think that education means a lot to me because literacy and education is power. That's something that they tried to take away from slaves and people in the 1950s prior to the Voting Right Act of 1965. Literary tests were implemented and things like that to keep people down, to keep people from voting and having a voice. I just think it's very disgusting. There's a lot of awful things that I could never put into words of how many things that are going on because I'm not aware of everything that's going on. And it's just awful to be doing that to people, because I think that regardless of skin color, religion, culture, and body weight, size, shape, height, social economic status, I believe that you deserve education, a warm house that's very safe, and you deserve a place to go to and have food and the ability to learn without, um, let me see, the Ten Commandments on the walls and Christianity being shoved at you and things like that. I think that religion is okay. It's cool, okay? I'm atheist. I've always been atheist. That doesn't really mean anything, because I think that you shouldn't mix religions in schools like that unless you're gonna have a school, a class that's dedicated to every religion, which I think is inappropriate to be teaching about religion anyways, when you guys could be teaching about science, history, and math, and things that can prepare you for real life, like business literacy or business management, or some kind of home ec with cooking or sewing or like that. I'm not trying to be rude. I just don't think that learning about religions is that important compared to things that people could be learning about. I'm not trying to be prejudiced or disgusting or disparaging or derogatory. And religion is important to some people, and I'm not saying it's not just because it's not to me. I just don't think it's appropriate to have it in school unless you're going to do it for every religion, like Catholicism, Jewishism, Hinduism. See, I'm kind of like making a joke because I really don't know anything about religion, so much so that I don't even know what they're called when you're trying to talk about it as a group. I think that it's just very scary right now. You could like literally lose your job for being inclusive, and that's crazy. I wanted to be a teacher because I just wanted to teach people about the horrors of America and world history, and implement critical thinking skills. I was never out to be teaching people to be liberals or to think like me. I think thinking for yourself is very important. If you do not have the ability to think for yourself, then you will think that trans people in the LGBTQIA plus community and people in that nature are like the devil, and you will think people that think differently from you are not worthy of respect. Sorry, I had a hiccup. Not worthy of respect or being treated kindly. And if you lack the critical thinking skills and the morality and the ethics, then you will honestly fall into the trap of listening to sources on the internet that do not have any credibility behind them, and getting that and just spewing it as fact and not thinking for yourself. You're going to hear something on the TV, on the radio, from your parents, from your family members, and take it as fact without making opinions for yourself. And it's just very sad. I've always wanted to be a teacher, along with some other things in life. I didn't mean to say other, that's weird, but I've always wanted to be either a history teacher or a lawyer, or um what are the other things? There's a lot of things, but I'm trying to keep it relevant. I've just always been in love with history and government, and seeing changes for the better, but now that dude and these people are in office, you're not gonna see that as much. And that's just very sad, because it's crazy, because I didn't go to school, college, straight out of high school, and I very well should have. I waited because I wanted to get a car, get some money established before I went to college, because I didn't want to, and I couldn't depend on people to give me rides to school. I go to the school that's 20 minutes from my house. Um, it's just very sad that this is what I have to look forward to. Like, obviously, I didn't want to be a teacher for the rest of my life. I should have gotten like some kind of law degree, some Juris Doctor degree, and then got certifications to be a teacher so I can do law and be a teacher. And I'm not saying I'm brilliant or I'm an important person. I'm just saying that I love fighting for people's civil liberties, and I love fighting for people, period, that deserve better because honestly, as long as you're not a bad person, I think that you deserve the world. Like, I'm saying this in general, like everybody. I think that if you are not a bigot or anything bad, then you obviously don't deserve to be discriminated against or abused or to be in a bad situation. And I've always loved law, so that's why I wanted to be a lawyer. I always wanted to represent kids being abused at home because I'm very much against social services when they fall short on purpose because they think that abuse is normal and okay. And I'm talking about these cases where kids show up to school with bruises and things, and it's deemed normal and okay, and then like a few weeks later, the child is dead. I always wanted to represent people that were being discriminated against because it's very important to me that people are treated as they should be, straight out the womb, regardless of culture, religion, skin color, height, weight, all of that. I think that equity and equality is very important to me, and to see all these things fall in front of me is very disgusting and very telling. And I'm not saying that my voice is very, very, very important. I'm just saying that I am a person that has a voice, and this is what I think, and this is how I feel. I think that the ACLU and all these judges and Congress should obviously be stopping this because he is obviously doing things that he should not be doing. I think that Gitmo is very disgusting. I think that death row is very disgusting. I think that people on death row are usually innocent and they're only there because of racial discrimination. And a lot of people try to argue that death row is great, and I'm like, there's so many people that are innocent and they lose their lives at death row, like Marcellus Williams. I think that's his name. That was a few months ago, and I'm not saying it's not important. It's just like so many bad things have been happening, it's hard to keep track. I hate to say, but I think that deporting people is disgusting. I think that seeking asylums is very important. I think that people being in a safe place to work, live, and be a person and raise their children is very important. I don't care. The Statue of Liberty, gifted from France, says that give me your sick, hungry, and poor. I'm very much in love with the Colossus poem that was written that goes along with the Statue of Liberty. I think that a lot of disgusting things are happening, and I am not for it. I have always been for equality and equity and fair living conditions. I've never cared about illegal immigrants. Who is illegal on stolen land, anyways? I know the stolen land part is kind of crazy to mention because that was 1600. This is 2025. I do agree to some little extent, but not a lot, because um Black people and people in general didn't get rights that long ago. I mean, we were only allowed to vote in 1960s. We were only allowed to marry white people, and I think the 1970s with the Loving versus Virginia case. People like me that are gay have only been allowed to marry since 2015. I think it's very disgusting that all these civil liberties are being rolled back and talked about and discussed. People are not political topics. I just think that's so gross. There's so much more important things to be discussing, like bringing back Roe v. Wade, um, protecting people against bad things happening in, let me see, what's a word? Foster homes and things like that, and adoption agencies. I think that there's a lot of things to be discussing that's happening that's very bad, like climate change, global warming. I think that you should not be in Congress and the White House making these disgusting bills against people, deporting people, and siding with a dictator. I know it's very scary to talk about Vladimir Putin if you're in Russia, and for now, I can talk about Vladimir Putin and the other guys without anything bad happening to me because I'm not on the political radar. I'm just a random girl at the park. But very telling. I'm very disgusted about it, and um I don't really make a lot of posts in general when it comes to things like these and death because I'm just so busy, and I used to protest all the time. I used to be um no ban no wall. I used to be do not vote for Donald Trump. I used to be for a lot of things. I still very much am for those things and issues I care deeply about. I just haven't been taking the time out of my day to discuss it in depth. I had a hiccup, I'm sorry, but that thing I did with my tongue was gross. I'm sorry. I was trying to pronounce death correctly because of the PTH sound. I'm sorry, but I do talk about these issues all the time in person, but not on the internet. And it's very important to be transparent, and it's very important to be an outlier because I don't want to be grouped with people that think these awful things about people ever. I don't want involved. I do not want to be a part of the same group. I don't want anybody to be confused into thinking I'd ever be. I'm a black gay woman. I'm atheist. I would never ever in my days side with hate. I do not side with anti-abortion. I do not side with deporting people. I don't side with anything that threatens people's livelihoods. That's just crazy. I mean, people working for the forests and things fired. People that work for cybersecurity protections fired. Disgusting. Unless you voted for him, then it's not disgusting. I think it's good that you're losing your job, but it's just very awful, and I don't agree. Sorry, I had to pause it because the children were making a lot of noise and they were walking around screaming. Not saying there's anything wrong with it. This is a public park with good lighting, compared to the park by my house, but yeah. I don't agree with anything that's going on. I think it's gross. Quit deporting people. Quit making education illegal. Quit trying to keep people down by making education illegal to keep people unable to critically think and know the truth. Um, Let me see what else is going on. I don't know. There's just so many awful things going on. It's just very hard to keep up. But I'm very much against it. I'm not for it. Never been for it. I appreciate and love the ACLU for everything that they have done over the decades, centuries, actually, and think they're very good people. And I appreciate AOC, Bernie Sanders, Jasmine Crockett, Ayanna Presley, I think is her name, and a lot of other congressmen and congresswomen that are taking stance against this man, along with Andy Beshear and Pete. I don't know how to say these people's names. I apologize, but the respect is still abundantly there. I appreciate everything they do. I don't think it's enough because I think that these people should be in prison, honestly. Not on death row, but prison. Because Gitmo, that's just disgusting. Making it illegal to seek asylums. I've never cared about illegal immigration. Like, I think it needs to be different because, I don't know, shouldn't take as long to get into the States, and you shouldn't be having people locked up for trying to come into America. And things should be safer, and I don't want all my money, my taxes going towards border control. I don't really care. Yes, I do think that drugs and things are an issue, but do I equate drugs to illegal immigration? No, I do not. No, I don't. Because who wants to? I know it does happen for sure, but who wants to risk their life crossing over from either Canada to America or wherever they're coming from? I'm not thinking or saying that all immigrants or illegal immigrants are from down south, but who wants to risk everything to sell that stuff? No, I don't. I just want people to be safe and happy and be able to live a dream of having a job and working and getting an education and raising their kids without the threat of losing your job for being inclusive or um, anything that everybody that looks a certain way is against. I'm just very much against exclusiveness and hatred and bigotry. So it's March 22nd, 2025. That's where I'm at with it. Grossed out. Do better.